How much do you think you've spent on film festivals?
Oh, I think I've spent nearly maybe a grand.
Really? And are
Yeah.
you, obviously it's your first feature, do you think you've been strategic enough? Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast. This week, I'm joined by filmmaker Cathal Fitzpatrick. How you doing, Cathal?
I'm not too bad, are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining me. So on the podcast, I often talk to filmmakers about not getting stuck making short films and maybe making a short film that is a proof of concept for a feature, which you've done amazingly. So t tell us a bit about that. Talk me through where you started and where we are now.
Yeah, for Hollow Trees, it started as a proof of concept for my university dissertation. Um, and then I think like I always wanted to make it into the feature. Like once we finished, we shot for like 2 days, and it was just a 20-minute long first 30 pages of this feature script that I wrote. And then as the years went on, the script changed a lot and things like that there. But I think I didn't expect the sort of, you know, audience that it did get on YouTube and stuff. But I think making a proof of concept gives you that motivation to, continue it and make it into that feature. So that was the plan really, to eventually finish it when I got the time and money, which took a lot longer than
I bet
anticipated.
it did. I bet it did. But just for reference, so the you put the short film up and it's got like 4 million views on it. So
Yeah.
was that a surprise? Were you how'd you manage 4 million views?
Oh, huge surprise. I don't know. Like, well, I think most of it came from people clipping it. So people were making like um shorts from TikTok and YouTube and things, and people were coming over to watch it. And it had the introduction had that hook, and then the rest of it was more world building.
Mm.
So they had that hook to sort of play with, and then that's what got people to come over and watch it. But yeah, 4 million views was not it was not expected at all. It was a bit crazy, but it like that's one of the biggest motivations as well to make it into full feature. I was like, we have to make this. So
Yeah, definitely. If you got that audience interested in that short, and people would kill for that kind of views on a short film. So you're at uni, you make this short proof of concept, and it's is it part of your actual dissertation thing?
it
Is that right?
was, yeah, yeah. So like, I love apocalyptic films, like post-apocalyptic films. And that's what my sort of university dissertation thing was how does a director make, a world feel post-apocalyptic with no money at all? And
Yep.
so that's sort of what I was exploring. Um, and yeah, that's like I had to do the big write-up and all, and then we
Mm.
made the film. Um, and yeah, it was good fun, like 2 days filming and
2 days filming. So how much did you spend on it?
on this proof
On
of
the
concept,
short? Yeah.
£500.
£500, right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to include in the description, I'll include a link to the short and the trailer for the feature.
Mm.
And even though you can see a marked quality improvement in the feature film, the short film still looks really high quality, especially for £500. So how do you manage that?
So it was my friend. Well, we rented a camera from the university, and my friend Ross and some like the I live with a bunch of lads who love film, and we're always like ready to jump on each other's projects and make these things. And um, I don't know. I think it was maybe just the world itself that made it look that higher budget. All the locations that we use are really close to where I live in the Mourne Mountains, and um, it was just important to sort of showcase that world and make it look as big as possible and really lived in. And I think that's one of the biggest aspects to making something look um, bigger than what you have, money wise.
Yeah, so that what you're hooking into there is that finding a location that adds money on screen. Obviously, if you've got beautiful surroundings around you that look really
Mm.
cool, that's perfect. Um, what was it shot on? Because we're bound to get asked
It was
this.
shot on a Black Magic
Black
Ursa.
Magic Ursa, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've shot your short film, and then you've seen the response to it, and you're like, right, I want to make this into a feature film. What happened next, and what did you do next to get that off the ground?
Uh, well, it was so like you see the gap on YouTube as well, like from this proof of concept to releasing the trailer was like 3 years. Those 3 years was just spent saving money to make it. I did apply for like funding schemes and things,
Mm.
um, but none of them are really like kicking off. Um, I was in talks with someone for a while and that died down, and then I had all these different versions of the script written. So I think I went through maybe six or different versions of the script, and the last one was like just write better, just labeled that. Um, and then I suppose like a lot of like when I was driving around where I live, every place I seen was like that would be good. That's a good location. That's cool, because it had to be abandoned and post-apocalyptic, and so it was important to have like bigger scale, but not as big of a budget. Bigger than what we had for the proof of concept, but
Mm.
again, it was just all self-funded and um, with the same team that
Yeah.
I had on the proof of concept, we were able to, sort of make it seem like it's big budget film. Like
So what's the budget for the film, the feature film?
the feature was budget was 9 grand,
9 grand. Okay, that
9 grand.
surprises me looking at that trailer. Like I say, it looks, and what's that shot on?
That was shot on a Sony FX3.
Sony FX3. So that looks really
Yeah.
good. So you've obviously got a really good team around you there. And how does it compare, like how many people you had working on the short to how many people you had working on the feature?
So on the short, it was sort of the same, a bit smaller crew. But on the feature, it was 11 cast and crew altogether.
Mm,
It was Ross Parr was my cinematographer. I had the same, well, Tom Karras, he was playing the lead, and we um auditioned for the new characters that were sort of written into the script, and Tom Stafford from a sound, and then the lads, Dario, Nunez, John Farley, like they are the boys that I lived with, and we've made films for years now, and I was just like, lads, I want to make this film, and they're like, let's do it. So I
just
just
do
like
it.
having their support as well and their help, it like huge, like it really helped me.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I guess what's slightly depressing about that is that you've got this short film that's got 4 million views, and that's not necessarily aided you raise the finance. So you've had to kind of raise that money yourself, but you've still managed to get it done, which is the main thing. What was the big kind of learning curve for you and the biggest challenge of moving from a short to a feature length film?
Um, well, as I said, like, the proof of concept was the first 30 pages of the feature, and the very old script, but it was so I had intended to film the rest like in the next month when I did do the proof of concept. I was like, we're gonna get the rest of this done. For the feature, we shot just 2 weeks straight. Um, we had one day off and just kept bombing it out, and you can see the sort like I've worked on sets nowadays, and you can see like people's motivation drop, and people get tired and they need a break and stuff. The people in this here were just all go full steam ahead, like, and um, it was just it's a huge scale to put in, to compare to like a short film and a feature. I think just having the right team is going to make all the difference. We this Hollow Trees is very ambitious for what we had, with like the locations and the story and the world and whatnot. But it was big. It was a big difference from Proof of Concept. Proof of Concept, we were in like 2 locations max,
Mm.
but this was just we had everywhere to go and not all the time in the world. So
Yeah, I bet. And also you got that added pressure of the fact that you are making a feature film that needs to kind of make sense and be this thing, whereas your other one's short, so you can sort of fix it and post if you need to. Give me the pitch for the feature. Give me the story.
so Hollow Trees follows a father and son in the post-war Ireland when they are haunted by a mutated entity that can imitate humans.
Lovely. And what are you drawn to genre? What's your kind of, is that your
Yeah,
bag?
I love horror. I love horror films. I love writing different things as well. So like there's things that aren't horror that I've written, and my friends are always saying, "Oh, you should do a comedy sometime." And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But horror is usually the one that I like go to a lot. I love sci-fi, and at the minute you're sort of restricted to writing what you could do now. So I haven't like I did write a script there that's this sort of Irish war epic that's would be a lot of money to
Mm.
make. But I've written it anyway, and I'm like, yeah, that's, if the day ever comes where I get the budget, I'll make that. Right now, I've just sort of written smaller horrors, and I'm sort of like in the development stage of making another one, like another low budget horror. So I'll see.
Is there anything you look back on now, you're like, oh, I wish I'd known that, or something you wish you'd going into that feature film?
I think, well, every project that I'm on, I'm like, oh, that's, I've learned something new. Like every day is a school day, I suppose, on a film set. Um, there are things, in the feature that, like, for one thing, I wish we had more lights. Like lights were a big thing. Like a lot of it is all natural lighting. Even in like there's scenes where they're eating dinner, and it's all candlelit, and we didn't have these big lights to make it look nice. With my friend like down on with a softbox, just flicking his hand to make it look like fire and stuff, and um. So I think like if I was gonna do it again, I'd be like just get as much lights as possible, really.
Mm.
But again, like less lights sort of sets the tone for this world as well because there's no electricity and so I think that's the biggest thing I learned was lighting is so important as well.
Yeah, definitely. And where are you now? You're in the festival bit, are you? Which sort of phase of it are you in?
Yeah, so like it's a strange time for festivals. There's such like so we had our world premiere in Galway Film Festival and it's like really early in the like world like film festival run. So it's really early, and then there's just this long gap before you even hear about if you're getting in or not. So,
Mm.
but to, I've submitted the film to like multiple festivals in the UK and America, and from the proof of concept, the majority of the audience comes from America for what it is, like the whole
Right.
Skinwalker vibe and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so at the minute, I'm still waiting to hear if it gets into other film festivals. Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. I hope it does. And how much do you think you've spent on film festivals?
Oh, I think I've spent nearly maybe a grand.
Really? And are
Yeah.
you, obviously it's your first feature, do you think you've been strategic enough? How have you approached picking these places?
Um, I've sort of, so like some, at the start, I was applying to festivals and, you know, that were next year and I want them this year. And um, when we applied, when was accepted for Galway, that was going to be the world premiere. And, a lot of the festivals I applied for only accept world premieres. So then
Mm.
they were immediately cancelled, there's no way they're getting in. Um, so I think I could have done better with selecting, the certain ones, but there's some festivals that we're in with another movie from John Farley and Taibsha, who's in the Irish language horror film. And it had a really good festival run. We were all over Ireland, we're in America and went loads of places in Europe. And from that, I sort of learned that, a lot of festivals love Irish horror or horror in general and stuff and support that sort of genre. So I submitted to a lot of them and yeah, I just have sort of waiting to see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's a difficult one when you're looking at, I'm assuming you've used Film Freeway, and you're looking at that page that's got all of these dates coming up when you're going to find out if you get into stuff. It can be quite nerve-wracking, especially if you've invested all that money in it. And are you waiting on sales and distribution? Are you chatting to people now? What's your plan with that?
So yeah, there's been a few after the trailer came out. There's been a few people reached out. Like personally, I'm like I wanted to premiere in the US first before I start saying yes to anything.
Mm.
Um, but very very new, fresh people like talking to me, like um nothing major discussed, just asking to see the film and said they've seen the proof of concept and they've seen that it's been turned into a feature and they'd love to get a screener. So I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
More
get a
worries really
screener
or
there.
what?
Yeah, don't sign anything until you've checked those people out for
Yeah,
sure. And do you think looking back on the feature, what's the biggest mistake you think you made?
the biggest mistake would maybe I wouldn't say rushing. Um, like we really utilized the 2 weeks that we had, but maybe like I wanted to get it done as soon as possible, and you know we had 2 weeks where everyone was off work, and um like we were able to do it in that span. But like I'd love to take more time, more days, and like have longer to, like I've seen, like from working on TV shows here as well, they're months to do, and obviously they're a very long thing to do, but feature films as well, they take months, and to do this in 2 weeks, you're like, okay, that's a lot. But I think, yeah, I'd love to. The biggest mistake was like trying to get it all in 2 weeks, which we did, but it takes a toll.